My first few businesses were all events businesses. So when I was a teenager, I ran nightclub parties, and when you run an events business, the big thing is, will enough people show up? Like, will the venue be full? Will we have a lineup out the front of the nightclub, right? So when I was 18, I was running those nightclub parties. One of the first companies I launched was called Triumphant Events, which was event marketing for all sorts of different businesses. And it was around this like concept of getting people to show up to an event. And like this became the DNA of how we used to do things. Like the DNA was constantly testing to see, do we have enough people coming along to this event? And we would see the magic that would happen when a product would become oversubscribed. So we would see this tipping point where the power was in the hands of the consumer, and that they were like, should I or shouldn't I buy this? Is this any good? You know, asking all the questions, to suddenly it could tip where the person selling the thing had all the power, and everyone's like, oh, I don't want to miss out. How do I make sure that I'm one of the customers who gets through? I want to be part of the beta group for this. You know, how many other people are ahead of me in the line? So I would just love to see the energy, the power dynamic shift when we got it all right. And kind of internally, we would talk about this idea of, yeah, I think we've hit the point of being oversubscribed for this particular product or this launch. And it was just chasing that magic moment. Oh, the rush of a line out the front of a nightclub when you're the nightclub promoter, it's epic. So good, and they've all got their tenor.
I mean, a lot of businesses will take hold of this concept and they'll run with it because it makes sense, and it does. But what are some of the classic mistakes that businesses make, you know, from getting people to line up to do business with them?
Well, I mean, this is the classic mistake. So the classic mistake is that we all get into business because we love the supply of something. So if we think about why we start a business, if I'm talking to most entrepreneurs, I say, oh, you know, tell me about why you're starting a web development business. Oh, I love building websites, and I love design, and I love coding and all that. That is the supply of what that business does. And if I talk to someone who's a business coach, they might say, I love coaching entrepreneurs. I love being a coach. And what most people don't think about is the demand generation. And very few people get into business because they go, I'm getting into this business because I'm really good at selling the thing. I'm really good at marketing it and generating demand. If we go to the history of the industrial age, everything was about, can you produce this thing? We have the word gross domestic produce because it's all about, can we produce something? And the game has changed. In the digital age, we don't really care if you can produce it, we care if you can sell it. So for example, if 100 years ago, if I launched a factory manufacturing scissors, as fast as I could make scissors, I would be able to sell them. I would have them going out the door, and they would be finding the market. The hard thing was manufacturing scissors. Today, if I go into Amazon and I do a little search for scissors, kitchen scissors, gardening scissors, you know, craft scissors, medical scissors, big, large, you know, small, like just hundreds. The hard thing is, can you even get customers to care about the product? So the big mistake everyone makes is massively overly focused on the supply side of what they do and massively neglecting the demand side of what you do. To the extent that, like, you know, I was having a chat with an entrepreneur outside who says, oh, I've spent 4 years building a product, we haven't actually tested the market. Like, we haven't opened a waiting list, we haven't checked to see if anyone's going to opt in and say that they want this. We've spent 4 years on the supply side. So as quick as possible, the entrepreneur has to get onto the demand side of the product.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that sort of demand generation is, well, the concept of scarcity, really, like creating scarcity for something. And I don't know about anyone else, but I experienced this recently with Oasis Gate. Everybody else trying. Luckily, I got tickets actually, but I'll just walk off now. They are for sale.
I can top this. My wife said to me, "Oh, we should have got Oasis tickets," and I said to her, "Someone will offer me one." Within 1 hour, someone said, "I got 4 tickets. Do you want to come along?"
Should have put a bet on that.
Now, hold up. That's called being a key person of influence.
Daniel, got one. So yeah, I mean, scarcity is a really powerful concept, and we saw that obviously recently with that. But I think it can come off really easily as being like a gimmick or disingenuous. Fake scarcity is a big thing.
Yep.
You know, how does a business make scarcity feel authentic and not just a marketing play?
Yeah, and it's especially hard with digital products because digital products in theory should be able to scale to infinity. The problem is anything that genuinely can scale to infinity, the price is on its way to zero. There's no question with that. Google figured that out early. They said, we can scale search to infinity, so therefore it's got to be free. We can scale maps to infinity, therefore it's got to be free. Even though it costs $300 million to send the satellites up there, we can do this over and over. It's going to be free. We have to figure another way to monetize because only scarce things can be monetized, really. It's the top 3 search results that can be monetized. It's the ability to get your ad on that page when someone's looking at the map that can be monetized. So obeying the laws of economics is the first thing, which says I'm not special. If I can genuinely do this for everyone, I have to figure out another way to monetize because it will be it's going to be on a race to the bottom. The way that I like to think about scarcity is the protection of experience. So we protect the experience and we're looking for at what point does the experience break. So a very simple example would be if you had a restaurant that had 50 tables and chairs, and with 50 tables and chairs, everyone's comfortable and everyone gets a positive experience in the restaurant. But if we cram 60 or 70 people in there, nobody gets a positive experience. We go from 50 happy customers to 0. So the reason that we don't cram extra tables and chairs in there is to protect the experience for our customers. So you take that thinking and you say, okay, where does our business break? Maybe it's customer success. So maybe the technology is unlimited, but the customer success experience is limited, so therefore we can only onboard so many customers based on our CS team. So you want to explain to the marketplace, look, we're trying to protect an experience here. We have a team of 7 people who do the CS. CS is an important part of onboarding customers. So the reason that we limit it to 300 new clients every single month is because that is how many we can get through our CS experience while we're scaling up. So by enrolling people in the conversation and saying this is where we're at as a business, we do have limitations, and we protect the experience for our customers, people are, oh, that sounds cool. It's not a gimmick. You're actually looking out for the people who go ahead and buy.
It's just so much more genuine when you do it that way. Is there an example of a company or a very recent example that you've come across where they've just nailed it?
The Oasis tickets was a funny one. If you break down the Oasis story, I think for 15 years they were not, touring. So this is actually the concept of the build-up phase of a campaign. It's a very long 15-year build-up phase of a campaign. But in the build-up phase of a campaign, what you're actually trying to do is make contact with people about something that's not yet available. Right? So this is actually, you're building energy. You're building bubbles behind the cork of the bottle, right? So you're trying to build up some energy behind the campaign. What essentially they've done is, in the book, I talk about this concept called 7-11-4. 7-11-4 is how you build energy behind your brand. So it's 7 hours, 11 interactions, 4 contexts or 4 platforms. So when somebody spends 7 hours learning about your brand, they're completely bought in and they're ready to go. When someone has 11 positive interactions with your brand, they're bought in and they're ready to go. When someone connects across 4 different platforms, they're bought in and ready to go. So any combination of 7-11-4 builds energy up behind the brand. And then when you allow something to go, if you've got, let's say you've got, I know this sounds so weird off the cuff talking about, but if you've got 5,000 people who have been 7-11-4'd, strange concept, but if 5,000 people have been 7-11-4'd and there's only 500 people who can get through and become a customer, you've got this energy. And that's essentially what Oasis did. They had a lot of people who were 7-11-4'd for tickets, and then they made 1 million tickets for 14 million people who wanted them. And it's important to know, there's nothing, the government's talked about trying to fix this. There is nothing you can do to fix this, because the market will always find a way around. It's like water will find a way to the lowest point. The marketplace, if 14 million people want something and 1 million people can get it, it will break somewhere. Somehow the market will equalize, and the million people who are willing to pay the most will end up with those tickets.
It's so interesting. Just for those people who aren't aware of the 7-4-11 Like, where did that come from? Where did you first come across that concept?
Zero Moments of Truth by Google is a research paper which is 11 interactions. It was actually 10.7 interactions. So what Google did is they looked at people buying a Louis Vuitton handbag, and they said, how many times did you interact with Louis Vuitton in the lead up to buying a Louis Vuitton handbag? They went, oh, it's 10.7, right? They did this with thousands of different purchases. They found that 10.7 interactions was these little micro moments building up to a sale. And then there's a guy called Professor Robin Dunbar, and he wrote a number of seminal papers about how people bond and how people fall in love and how people connect with each other. And he was talking about these things called Dunbar's numbers, which is you're a stranger, you're an acquaintance, you're a friend, and you build up through these concentric circles of how well I know you. And he found that once people had spent 7 hours with someone, they were feeling connected enough to transact, like as in there would be a friendly, trusted transaction at the 7 hour mark.
Do you think that's been accelerated through the rise of AI now, that people can just create content so willingly, but like what's the differentiator? Like there's content and then there's building that authentic relationship.
Well, it's definitely accelerated through digital assets. So the human brain doesn't really understand the difference between video. You know, when a famous person passes away and we feel sad, it's not because we knew them personally, it's because we knew their digital footprint. You know, I was upset when Prince passed away, and it's not because I spent any time with Prince, it's because, you know, I bought the album, you know, and watched the film clips and all of that sort of stuff. So the human brain really just connects through digital as though it's analog, as though it's real. So did anyone here watch the Diary of a CEO podcast that I did with Stephen Bartlett?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So your brain thinks that you spent 2 hours with me. I look at you and I'm like, I got no idea who you are, but you're like, oh, you're that guy that we spent 2 hours together, right? So the brain doesn't get that it's digital. So the digital thing does that. The AI piece really has the potential to hack people's brains. So, you know, there's nothing about our evolution that prepares us for what's to come when AI can do what AI does.
Yeah, Elon Musk is literally trying to do that right now as well, isn't he? Chip in the
Oh,
brain
just get
stuff.
straight into the brain,
well,
yeah.
Let's just drill a hole. I mean, a big part of this is for businesses. I think they lack, a lot of businesses that we come across within our agency, they lack this ability to create that irresistible offer, or that compelling offer. And for you, what exactly makes an offer so resistible that people just go, take my money, for God's sake?
That is the question, by the way. A lot of entrepreneurs are not even asking that question, and it is a central question. You're not, you know, well, one of the things that's missing is radical empathy. Radical empathy is the ability to climb into the shoes of the customer and really be in their world. What does it feel like to be a customer who's struggling? So if we have radical empathy, we're thinking about what are the day-to-day little things that niggle at me and annoy me that I wish could be solved? What are my hopes and dreams and aspirations, and what does it feel like to want those things? What have I tried in the past and felt a feeling of letdown and disappointment because I tried this thing and it didn't work? So we need to, with every product, we need to start with this game called radical empathy with the customer. So you identify an ideal customer persona, and then you try and place yourself into their shoes. You try and suspend your strong feelings about your own product or service. Say, all right, here's how I feel about my products and service. I'll park that off to the side for a minute. But before I try and get into the product and service, I'm just going to try and get into the shoes of the customer and radically have a feeling and experience of what it's like to be in their world. However you do that, and there's lots of games you can play to do that, and there's role plays, and there's actually talking to customers and all of that. So this radical empathy piece is the start. The reason that customers buy stuff is ultimately, in their head, there is this situational model that they construct. And it's, where am I now and why is that less than perfect? Where do I wish I was, and what would be even better about that than what I've currently got? And what's stopping me? What are my obstacles or barriers? So that's the situational model that customers build in their head. That's their story. Where am I now? Where do I want to be? What's in the way? That's the opening gambit for every customer purchase. And then great companies know how to build a path of least resistance. And they come in and they say, oh, I understand this is where you are, I understand this is where you want to be, I understand this is what's in the way. We've crafted a path of least resistance for you, and here's why it's a perfect path of least resistance that goes from where you are to where you want to be without hitting all this stuff that's in the way. And when customers connect that what you've created for them is a path of least resistance, they get excited. They go, oh, that's incredible. How quickly can I buy? And you'll sometimes, if you do this well, you'll see customers go from like 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds. They go, as soon as the lights go on, they go, I want that.
Okay, and let's say hypothetically they've done that and they've done that really successfully. How do they keep evolving? Because Richard Harper was saying this yesterday to Sophie, evolution, not revolution. And it's like you've got to keep evolving your product. You can't just change because the customer, their needs and desires, they change. So they've successfully met those needs and desires. Now they need to keep that customer. How might they do that? How do they keep it fresh and exciting so that that customer's still there with them?
Yeah, so you've got a couple of different types of products. Some products solve a problem, and some products deliver an ongoing need. So I've got two software companies at the moment. One is ScoreApp. ScoreApp delivers data-rich leads and customer insights, and this is a problem that never goes away. If you're a business, you want more leads and more insights every week, again and again and again. So this is naturally a really good business to be in because our customers, as soon as they figure out, oh, ScoreApp's really good, they go, well, I never want to switch that off. I just want that always on. In fact, I want more of that. The other one is bookmagic.ai. So Bookmagic helps our customers to write a book twice as fast and twice as good as they could have without that tool. But the problem with Bookmagic is that once you've written the book, you go, oh, that tool did an amazing job. I'm really, really pleased that I bought that product, but I don't have an ongoing need. So we've got to start thinking about, okay, what needs come next? Now you've got a book, you need a opt-in landing page for people to get the book. You need a way of people to book you as a speaker because you're an author and they want to have you speaking at a conference, so we could get into helping with that. So we've got to think about this question of what are the ongoing needs, or we've got to think about the question, how do we turn every customer into a referrer so that people are so overjoyed by the use of this product that they tell two people, and they tell two people, and they tell two people, and they tell two people. So so you've got to kind of, once again, radical empathy. Does this product create an ongoing solution that I never want to let go of, or does it just solve a problem and now I need the next thing on my journey?
Interesting you mentioned the book thing, because you're quite big on personal branding, and some might say you're a bit of an OG with the personal branding concept. And
Wrote the book on it.
Wrote the book on it.
Some might say.
Key person of influence, if you're asking. I'll plug you, don't worry.
I will too.
And it's obviously clear why you're big on it, and how much does who you are play a part in the whole oversubscribe thing and getting people to line up to do business with you? And can someone without a huge following still make it happen?
Yeah, you don't. Everyone has this idea that, oh, it's okay for you, you've got a great following. We live in a world where you can switch on a following really fast. There's 2 billion people connected. When I first started in business, and some people will remember this, the way to reach an audience was to take out a quarter-page ad in the newspaper. That was the way to reach your audience.
Sorry, what's a newspaper?
Yeah, it's like an iPad, but so there wasn't this concept of a following, and the ability of going viral and all of that sort of stuff just wasn't even a thing. So you can build audiences very fast. We've all seen people pop up. Alex Hormozi was a great example. He was nowhere and then he was everywhere, and suddenly he had millions of followers, and he orchestrated that. He did that deliberately. So he was very, very clever about his messaging and the repetitive way he would say it and the platforms he'd get onto and all of those sorts of things. The key idea is that the personal brand is now the gateway to the whole business and product ecosystem. We don't relate to businesses, we don't relate to products until we see the people that represent them. And that's been a real shift, massive shift in the last 20 years especially. Elon Musk has overtaken NASA and the entire automotive industry. Now, if you were to say to most people, give me the name of a CEO of a car company, they're only going to say Elon Musk. They won't know any other car companies. If you said, give me the name of the director of NASA, they have no idea, but they know who is the head of SpaceX.
No idea about NASA, to be fair. Anybody know?
No, right? So we can see this again and again and again. Cristiano Ronaldo has more social media followers than every single football club combined, adding up all their followers. Right? So if you have this idea in your head that you're going to hide behind your business brand and that your product will sell itself, it's very outdated. People want to know who's the founder, what's the founder's story, what does the founder have to say about this product and why it was created, why does it exist? You've got to become the face and the voice of your brand, because people only relate to businesses and products through the voice and the face of the founder to get that early stage traction. It's a really important part of launching a business and getting traction.
And we know writing a book is a really powerful way of doing that. But what else can people do if they don't have a personal brand or they don't have a huge following? Sorry, let's not get this confused, because everyone's got a personal brand, but not everybody might have a huge following. What can they do to start building that following? And especially if they're not natural with the whole sort of self-promotion thing.
Well, it's not self-promotion, it's idea promotion. Like there's being an influencer, which is self-promotion. Check me out, I'm amazing. Here's my breakfast this morning, I had an omelette. This is my Ferrari, it's red, right? So that's the check me out, I'm amazing influencer model. The key person of influence or the personal brand is, I want to talk to you about some ideas. I want to talk to you about what's happening in the world. I want to show you transformation. Have a look at this incredible transformation. This used to be the way things were done, and now check this out, it's now doing this way. So you're idea promoting, right? The goal of a founder is not to be self-promoting, it's idea promoting. And then the ideas lead into what's the business, what's the product, now that I understand those ideas. Yeah. So we want to become idea promoters. The reason that we write books is not because books are great products, but books are a great way of distilling ideas, refining ideas. It's a great way of getting what's in your head into a single source of truth. It's very, very powerful to give that away as a gift to people who could carry those ideas forward and tell more people. One of the reasons I write books is to give away books, give away 1,000 copies a year to the people who could share those ideas on bigger platforms. And then, there's a dirty little secret that I'll share that very few people will share, but more founders should know about, which is you can just pay to be on platforms. So, did you hear the air suck out of the room there? You can sponsor events, you can sponsor podcasts, you can sponsor big platforms, and that is part of marketing your product. You find the right podcast that talks to your audience, and you contact them and say, hey, we'd like to be in touch. Now, by the way, I didn't pay to be on Diary of a CEO, if that's what you're all thinking. He just messaged me out the blue. But there have been, there's big conferences, like we're trying to get more into the USA at the moment. There's a couple of conferences that we've just recently sponsored, where we've said, hey, we want to turn up, we want a 30-minute speaking slot on stage, we want to do a demo of the product, and we want everyone to get a free book. How much is the sponsorship package to do that, right? So, and then you get up on there, you get the video footage, you get the connections. So, that is once you know you're onto a winner, that's also the fast track.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before, actually, about the sort of paying to sponsor events and the fact that you actually prefer doing it that way because you know you're there to do business.
Yeah.
And you know there's an outcome to be had, which I think is really powerful. So if you think paying to be on stage is bad, it's really not.
Well, I get paid to speak, and I pay to speak, and my preference is paying. So getting paid to speak means that I have to turn up and bang my cymbals the way they want them banged. Whereas if I pay, I get to go and do the thing I want to do as fast as I possibly can.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Just touching back on ScoreApp, actually, your software company, and let's talk about that just a little bit. It is a really cool tool, and for those people who haven't used it, really do use it.
Who's used ScoreApp? Hey, very cool. I think everyone would have pre-registered to be here on ScoreApp, so you would have entered your wait. They launched a waitlist yesterday. Did anyone join the waitlist for next year? Yeah, nice. There you go. You're on ScoreApp. Yep.
It is an awesome tool, honestly, and we use it in our agency all the time for ourselves and our clients. And it's. But how can businesses use something like that to connect their audience? I know we've already touched on that a little bit, but with data and personalization becoming such a big deal, especially in an AI age.
Yep.
You know, how can businesses use it to keep people coming back for more?
So we're in September, really, really powerful time to launch a waiting list for something that's happening in 2025. So everyone in this room should pick something that's happening in 2025 and launch the waiting list. So like even if you're a life coach, are you interested in getting a life coach in 2025? Join the waiting list. Maybe you're going to put on a little conference. Maybe in the new year you're going to put on a private dining experience for influencers in your industry. Launch the waiting list for it. Maybe you've got a piece of software and you're going to do 3 or 4 little updates. In 2025 we're launching the updated version of our software. Join the waiting list to get early access. So this particular moment between September and December is a place where you'll have natural excitement for people thinking about what's coming in the year ahead. So leverage that, launch a wait list for something that's going to happen in 2025, launch the waiting list right now and get that out. That's an easy win. When people join the waiting list, ask them 5 questions to get onto the waiting list. So at what price would this product or service be too expensive? Or at what price would this be so cheap you wouldn't trust that it's any good? What problem are you trying to solve? Which of these descriptions best describes the problem you're trying to solve? What have you tried in the past that didn't work? Which best describes the problem or frustration? Which best describes the outcome that you're looking for? Anything like that, where you're getting a little bit of insight about price, frustration, what they've tried that didn't work, or desired outcome that they're trying to get to. Ask a few of those key questions so that you can gather those insights. That's gold dust if you've got that information. Many of you will price your products too cheaply if you don't ask the market how much they think the price should be. When we launched Book Magic, we thought that the price point that people would resist would be $29 or $39 per month, and the data came back clear as anything. $59 a month is the price everyone expected to pay. We would have priced that too cheaply. Now multiply that by 1,000 customers and that's $20,000 a month worth of lost revenue just by not asking. So ask the question. So waiting list, mini courses are a good idea. So a mini course is assume that your customer needs some form of education in order to buy the product properly. What is the education? It could be as simple as 10 minutes or 15 minutes of explaining something, and assume that customers want that education. That's part of their buying journey. So if you can be the provider of that mini education, that 15-minute little mini course, how to improve blank, whatever it is that you do, how to improve blank. A 15-minute short course on how to improve your preparation for running a marathon, how to improve your CrossFit weightlifting journey, right? Whatever it is, right? So how to improve blank, 15-minute mini course, super powerful. And then of course an online assessment. So people love taking online assessments. So in the lead up to buying something, people want to self-assess, how bad do I need this? Do I really need it? And an objective set of criteria where people can answer a few questions and then get a score. Like, people love that stuff. Who here has ever taken a personality test? Right? You're just discovering whether you've got a personality or not. Turns out it's 1 of 16, right? So that's human behavior, right? We all want to know a little insight. We want to answer some questions, and then it's like, which box do I fit in? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, where do I fit? So these are just 3 ways that I would encourage you just to warm people up to what it is that you do.
Amazing. So let's go right to the end of the journey, and let's say you've hit the jackpot, you're oversubscribed. How do you keep that momentum going? Because we see this quite a lot actually. People get oversubscribed. There's like 10 spaces, 1,000 people signed up. What's the secret sauce to staying in high demand?
So the secret sauce is number 1. It's very important these days that you don't limit your business by geography, because you run out of geography real fast. So you don't want to be the best in Birmingham, or you don't want to be, we are solving this problem for people who live in this location. Ideally, you want to be intellectual property focused. So intellectual property is more, we solve this problem for this type of person wherever they are in the world. So the fundamentals of your business should be built on, we can solve a problem for a type of person anywhere in the world. That's kind of the fundamental. And then you don't run out of people quickly because there's 2 billion people, English speaking, fast internet, etc. So you have a large number of people to talk to. Once you do have a large number of people to talk to, recognize there is no such thing as a market. There are only individuals, and individuals go through their own personal journey towards buying something. So stop thinking about how many people are out there as clusters or groups. Start thinking about how do I build a journey for someone to be educated, entertained, given a set of insights. They go through that process, and then structure that into what I would call a perfect repeatable week. Perfect repeatable week is we do the same stuff again and 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 again in order to just give more people those insights, take more people on that journey. There's the figuring it out phase in business, which is the fun part, and then there's the scaling up phase, which is really dead boring. And it sucks because you relate to the idea of crank the handle. Crank the handle is we've figured it out, now we crank the handle. Take Coldplay, for example. So Coldplay has a figuring it out part of writing songs and coming up with new material and writing the new album. And then they have the part called touring the album. And this is where 3 times a week they are in front of a massive stadium. And you're sitting there going, oh, here we are doing it again. Right? Hello, Wembley? Is it Wembley? Right. So you've got to imagine, for Coldplay, they are cranking the handle. They are doing the same show over and over. For you as a customer of a Coldplay ticket, you're having a phenomenal experience. It's a very special evening for you. For them, it's the 3rd time this week they've done this, right? So that's what it feels like to scale. When you scale, you figure out your album, and you play your album, and you play your album, and you tour the album, tour the album, and you get used to the idea that it's going to be boring, and you're not focused on how you feel about it, you're focused how others feel about it. So you just get inside the head of the customer and say, are we delivering a positive experience for more and more people? Perfect repeatable week. Same week, again, again, again. And now what could be in that week? Posting content. 3 pieces of new content could be in the perfect repeatable week. Doing an introduction presentation live with a new audience could be every single week. Running a certain set of ads to certain size audiences could be perfect repeatable week. So for example, reinvesting 8% of revenue back into ads as our standard perfect repeatable week. As revenue grows, our ad budget grows, and we just redeploy ads budget back into the marketplace. Boom, boom, boom. Repeatable, repeatable, repeatable. So we want to get into that phase, that we get out of the fun phase, we get into the boring scale-up phase, and crank the handle, crank the handle, crank the handle.
And if you want to invest in paid ads, by the way, come see.
Yeah, paid ads.
That's literally what we do. And actually, from my own experience and with our clients, we often see that it's the simplicity, the transparency, and just that relentless consistency that, is way better than this all singing, all dancing marketing campaign. It's the boring shit every week.
The biggest budgets in the world, if you take the biggest budgets and biggest brands in the world, they repeat what works, repeat what works, repeat what works. If changing it up every single week worked better, they would do it. They have the budget to do it. They've figured out being consistent beats being interesting.
Yeah, so I guess actually we've kind of maybe hit that point where I think, well, from what Daniel said today, who's buzzing to get started with trying to get people to line up for awesome? Oh, some more over here. Sorry, we're in outside my peripheral. So, what can people start right now? Right now, what can they do tomorrow to start getting people to line up to do business with you?
Launch the waiting list for next year. So
in the next 6 months, what can they be doing? Keep the hype.
Launch the waiting list, launch the assessment, launch the mini course, pick a few things that you do well, improve them. Put really beautiful design elements on your stuff. Design elements, one of the reasons people love your website is it's a great looking website. Once you've figured out what works, over-invest in the design because people really respond to that stuff. Invest in photography, invest in video, really kind of get it to pop, and then just crank the handle. Do it again.
And looking to the future, what trends are you really excited about? What are you seeing? Like just generally in the business space, the entrepreneurial space, marketing space, what are you excited about?
Well, entrepreneurship is the big trend at the moment, and there's a reason for it, which is that in the world of economics, they say that there's 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, enterprise. The agricultural age was the land age, right? You had to have land in order to be rich. The industrial age was actually capital and labor. You had to have capital to build a factory and labor to stick people into it, and you needed enough money to build a factory and hundreds of bodies to put into the factory in order to have a business. Fast forward to today, we're living in the most extraordinary time where you don't need much capital and you don't need many people to have a global impact. Right? That means we're in a different age. We're no longer in the agricultural age, we're not in the industrial age, we're in this digital age. If you take ScoreApp, for example, I think our headcount is around 25. We have 6,500 customers in 152 countries. You know, we're growing at 1% per week every single week at the moment. And it's by all accounts, it's a small business. It has the same headcount as a cafe or a restaurant did, you know, not long ago, or now. But it's unheard of, unfathomable, if that was the way to say the word, that 25 people could have 6,500 customers in 152 countries. That's mind-blowing. So the big trend is figuring out what do the new businesses look like that fit this kind of new digital model, where non-constrained by geography, focused on solving a problem, embracing intellectual property, media, software, data, AI tools, plugging it all together, right? So the big trend is or the big idea that we need to be talking about is the fact that we are actually right on the forefront. This is the frontier of where the economy's at, which is this entrepreneurial space.